All right, so I have clicked on the setting up the meeting for YouTube Live, redirecting to YouTube. All right. Greetings, everyone. I am waiting for Selena to join us and we'll see what happens. It's a little distracting. I have my screen split so I can see what might be going on. I don't know that I'll be able to see the chat or not. I can see me obviously on Zoom, but I see me on YouTube. So it's like this weird little funky doodle delay. I don't know how to get rid of the Zoom thingy dingy at the lower right-hand side of the screen. So sorry about that, noob here. But it's been a long week. Today is Friday, March 15th, halfway through March already, excuse me. It is 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States. So Selena and I originally came up with the idea of possibly doing something whenever we felt the, not so much the need, but more of like the, I guess, as the spirit leads, so to speak, and doing some sort of community support or a support to show that uh, we want to have people feel like they are supported, but not only that, there's also a great deal of healing that needs to go on, not just within the community on YouTube, but also at the community at large. Most of you know that I work in community mental health, and I have a great passion for helping people and kind of feel like, not to toot my own horn, but have been told that, going above and beyond is not foreign to this party, but also you can get burnout quite easily. And I'm very close to that with the current work. What gives me a great deal of energy and kind of is rejuvenating is doing something as divergent as possible. That for me is studying some of the hidden knowledge and some of the hidden wisdom. Some of that you can find on the internet, and some of it not so much, right? Something that I think is really important is making sure that you try to speak what your version of truth might be. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's very, very true. We're getting into an era where more people are going to feel like they're entitled. They are more takers than they are givers. So if you are a giver, please guard your energy. It doesn't mean you stop giving. It means you are very mindful of what and when you give and how often. Make sure you don't start giving from a cup that's going to eventually empty very quickly. There are also a lot of manipulative people out there. They are a foe of a taker, but the manipulators are the worst kind of taker, because their desire is to, or goal even, is not only to take, but cause you damage and elevate themselves. Okay. It says I have another meeting in progress, so I am going to see if I can't give Selena her, give me a second here. Okay, she's saying, so just let me get you the ID and passcode to enter the meeting. So I am going to do that for her if I can. There it is. It's not letting me see what that is. So I am going to see what I can. I know, I am so sorry. I am a bit of a noob at this. I'm gonna go here and go to my Zoom. And I think it already has it in there. My account. It might be meetings. It probably started. All right. I am going to send Selena the meeting ID. ID. I am not going to say it out loud. And what's the passcode, you silly thing? Excuse me. There it is. Password. Oops. Oh, stop it. Don't you love autocorrect password? Oh, stop. I hate it. I absolutely hate, although it has come up with some pretty interesting changes. I hope I'm keeping you guys entertained. Probably not. Don't know. Don't care. At this point, life is, this is something that came to me earlier today. Sorry about the glare. Being flexible is hugely, hugely important. Not only being flexible, but also keeping in mind that that flexibility is making sure you're not, putting out negative energy. Example, like, I mean, Selena could get like really pissed off, or I could get really upset, or she could get upset because I didn't send her the right ID information. Or I think a cat's going to try and join me here in a second. Or, I could get really angry and upset because I didn't set this up the way I originally thought I was going to be able to set it. There she is. Yay. There you are.
Hello.
Yay.
Hi. I'm laying on my couch.
Stop. All right, yeah. So as far as I can tell, I will tell you in a heartbeat. Yeah, we're live. As opposed to being dead.
That's good.
That's
I'm
very
trying to
good.
feel like it looks weird on my camera.
I don't know that it necessarily is weird. It's almost like it can't keep up with the data stream.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's on my phone, so I don't know.
Where's your stand?
I don't have my stand. I'm on the couch.
No stand today. Okay. All
Well,
right.
it's over here. Let me call you. Let me get back on.
No,
Hold
no,
on.
no, 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 what am I at? I mean, you can pick it up and walk over there and grab it, right? I mean, you're on your phone.
Sure.
Yeah. You don't have to come back on and off. All right. So yeah, I was just saying, no, we got to be flexible. We got to make sure that just because things don't work out the way we expected or the way we planned, that we need to not only be flexible, but not projecting any kind of anxiety or frustration out onto other people because our expectations weren't met. You know what I mean?
I
Does
do
that
know what you mean. I often find myself in a trap of that because it's like, like when you start to learn to like overcome like certain patterns and behaviors that you have within yourself, it's like you start noticing the ways in which you yourself are trapped, and I think that like the first step in changing any of those is just like the acknowledgement, because oftentimes like people spend their entire lives being blind to like what things they need to change or what's holding them back, you know? And it's that eureka moment where they're like, oh, aha, it's this, you know? And I find myself having those moments more and more, like all the time, like even in the midst of like processing things or going through something, like I'll find myself like contemplating, why did I do that? Or why do I react this way? You know? And I think a lot of times it's the recognition of the pattern, you know, it's the very beginning of like changing things, because the other things that I have changed, like such as things that were negative or toxic within my being, I have learned to like, it's like it becomes a detour instead of a stopping point, you know? So like where in the past it would be something that would totally like stop me in my tracks. Now it's something that I kind of like tiptoe around, like, you know?
Do you think it's a detour, or is it more like a course correction? Because a lot of times we can use those little niggly things, the little niggly bits that get us, and we are gaining a bigger, a greater awareness, not just about other things around us, but about ourselves. And then that way we can kind of not only course correct, but it's also that awareness is like it not only is the catalyst can turn into an awareness that can turn into, if you process it properly, can produce wisdom.
No, I agree with you. I think that's exactly what it is. And I think it's like I think human beings are constantly stuck on all these like cyclical loops. And until they learn their way to navigate within these like loops or patterns, then they remain kind of at a standstill. But then as we like learn that, oh, well, this triggered this and this triggers this, and then we like navigate around those things to get past them and like move on, I think that's what carries us to that next level. But there's always enrichment and something to gain from the struggle too, because if it wasn't for the things that we struggle with or the things that tempt us or the things that, you know, frustrate us, then we wouldn't be able to acknowledge when things were good, you know? And I think like I think I'm blessed in that area because I have a balanced view right now of ways in which that I'm blessed and ways in which I feel like I want to work on, you know? And
Right.
those areas that I want to work on, I simply just try to evaluate where my own triggers or pain has caused me to create a habit that hasn't been really my authentic self. If that makes sense. If that makes sense
Yeah.
to you, like, because it's like oftentimes like a lot of this stuff is like we're so busy trying to live up to these societal standards or things that like everyone else has said or agreed upon as normal, even within communities, that like it becomes where like, oh, we're desperately trying to fit in, but like, but be ourselves too. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what do I do about this or what do I do about that? And I think that learning how to recognize things within ourselves and also giving ourselves the grace that we need to have the room and the space to allow ourselves to have those feelings and reactions is important too. I don't know if that made sense. Sorry. I went on a rant.
Yeah, no, there is kind of like it's become cliche is an awakening. An awakening is more or less like an awareness. But it's almost like too that there are so many different aspects, facets, and perceptions of what that means and in different aspects of everyone's life. So you might be awake in one area of your life, but you could be like Somonixville for many other aspects. So you could be very much aware of some of the things going on with the abuse of what humanity is. But you could be very much aware of some of the political things that are going on, or you could be very much aware of some of the medical things that are going. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you could be aware of from a spiritual sense or from a more 3D aspect, but there are facets within each one of them And I think the real trap is siloing each and every one of those ideas and understanding if there are so many people that have so many different opinions on each one of these subjects, regardless of what it is, something, if you pull back from that and look at the big picture, something's not right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when somebody says, oh, you know, Trump, rah, rah, rah. And believe it or not, people say, oh, Biden, rah, rah, rah. Of course.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm looking at the big picture going, it's two different wings, right wing, left wing.
I
Sorry,
agree.
but it's on the same freaking bird. It's on the same bird.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like a lot of these things that are like, I guess for lack of a better word, I feel like there's a lot of distractions out there and they're made exactly for that. Like anything can be a distraction, like your favorite YouTube spirituality person can be a distraction if you allow it to. Like literally anything can be a distraction because like I feel like, and I stand by this because I feel like we all need people to support us in our growth, but like real change has to come from within an individual deciding that they're going to change. Like now they may need people to help them, but they have to have that inside of them, that catalyst that says, okay, this is what I want to do, you know, and however I have, whatever I have to do it, I'm going to do it. And then like the right people will come along to support that, you know, and you should allow those people in and you should support one another. But also, I feel like, you know, just acknowledging something like say you have, so for example, like there was a point in time when I struggled with what I would call an addiction on marijuana. And I think that for me, like it took a long time for me to get to a point within myself where I could see it as something that wasn't exactly completely healthy for me or something that was more like a distraction because it was helping me in some ways, but then also in other ways, it was allowing me to space out so much that I wasn't able to focus on the here and now. And I think like that there's always two sides of everything and there's duality in everything. And that's the nature in which our universe exists upon is the duality of everything, the polarity, you know, the opposites. And I think that like if you feel one way, all your vices and your virtues are like the opposite and the same, you know? And it's like so like you could be very one thing and then like your vice could be the exact opposite thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like finding that balance within ourselves that allows us to give room for growth but also allows room for our best side to come out because I feel like a lot of people are lacking in acceptance. And I don't think that because I think that we're not as connected as a people as we should be like overall, you know, like we should be doing more things as a community, we should be doing more things together, we should be taking care of one another more. And
Yep.
those are things that we just don't do because like this world has us so distracted, we have our noses in our phones, you know, like
Well,
going up
plus
our,
too, look at this, look at what they've done to us from an economic standpoint too, is they virtually and in reality turned us into a society where in the United States anyway, you have one generation, if you're lucky, living in a home. You don't typically have your children living with you or your grandparents living with you or your grandchildren living with you. And we've allowed that to happen economically where we have to have both parents working. We have to have, you know, the kids go out to a school. We have to have, in order to survive. This is not anything to say about, you know, I shouldn't do that or I should do this instead. The thing is that this is where we are. Most people cannot afford to have a single family, you know, one person income. You have to, if you are in a partnership, both people are working to sustain your what you're accustomed to living at, that standard of living. And the reason I kind of understand that a little bit better is because when I was forced into a situation where we determined that I can't work anymore, I made more money than my husband had. So I said, I can't do this because of, and I'm not going to get into why, but it was, you know, after doing some consulting with some other people that I needed to quit. I needed to pull my kids out of daycare and because they were little, they were like a year and a half and 2.5. They were really close in age, maybe not even 3. So I pulled them both out of school, and all the problems that we had, even though economically our household income went down the gurgler, we had a better life. I wasn't paying all this money in childcare. I wasn't spending all that money in gas. All our insurance dropped on the car because I wasn't driving to and from work. It was, and I got to homeschool my kids. So they didn't even have to go through all the shenanigans of the public school system that a lot of people had to go through. You know, the public school system is a fairly new concept. This is not something that's been around for hundreds of years. This is probably 100 years old, if that. If you think
Yeah.
about it, you know, most kids didn't even go to school or, you know, till they were like 7, and then they quit when they were 14 because they had to provide for the family. My dad went to work, he quit school when he was 13. He didn't get his GED until he was 47 years old. Somehow he managed to raise a family of 7,
Yeah.
his own business, you know, so it's doable. It's harder today because of the society that we've set up. But, you know, again, it's all where you're going to place your value. It's all going to be about that awareness of what do I really want to do? There has to be some sort of a bridging aspect. And I think this is where people are on the verge of a type of an awakening that I don't think they're even aware of that even exists. I don't even know where that just came from.
Well, I think that people have to like, I think anything is possible for people. I think what limits people is buying into what the people for you have said. So I feel like what you did is amazing, you know, and that's something that I feel like more people can do if they stepped out and took the risk, you know, because
It
like
was
you,
huge. It was scary as all
yeah,
freaking get out.
you have to, if you want to do great things, like you have to like you have to be riding that line of risk. Okay, has to scare the shit out of you, and you have to feel like, you know, this is exciting, but I'm scared, you know, like, because those things are possible, but
Yeah.
you have to be willing to put in the work to get it done,
Yeah.
you know. I feel like, and it, especially today, I think our society is different and harsher in a lot of ways, but I think that there's also many ways in which that we can be more free than we ever were before. And I think one of those ways is like breaking down like what other, instead of worrying about what other people think of us, like worry about what we think of us. Like what makes you happy? What makes you feel good? What do you want to do for your family? Like set your goals. Don't worry about like, do I fit in with this person, or do I, you know, does this look fine here? No, just like do what you want to do that sets your soul on fire. And then like the universe will provide you clues along your path to make that possible, you know? And I feel like for me personally, that's what's happened to me, because it's not that like I'm better or know how to do more things than people. It's because like I'm a risk taker, you know? And I didn't always used to be, but then once I learned that like jumping into the flame of like so-called flame of it is just like a surrendering, and then once you surrender to like the feeling of like whatever negative feeling it is and just accepting that you're going to get through it, then that's when like magic happens, you know, because you're in that risk area, you're doing things that you never would have before, and that's rewiring your brain also.
Okay. So looks like Steven's in the chat. I don't know if you're still there, buddy. It's like, oh my God. So yeah, it's kind of screwy because this is through Zoom. So I have I got like a wide screen so I could split the
I didn't
screen.
realize you were coming on right away. I
I'm
was
I'm I'm blind as a freaking bat, so yeah. So yeah, I think we were gonna try and raise a little bit of awareness, but also I think this idea of exchanging, hey buddy, I think the idea is there has got to be a healthy exchange of energy. And I get it that people are strapped for money, but then again, that comes from a program of lack. And we need to deprogram that and realize that we are abundance. We don't have abundance. We are the abundance. And as soon as you start feeling that, the abundance starts coming. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to sit back and just, do a few ohms in your room for an hour at night. This means you're going to have to put this into action and into fruition and do something. Some people can just do it free flowing and make it happen that way. Other people need to kind of like, well, I need to do ABC and then put those into action. Whatever's going to work for that individual is gonna be working for them. I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to ramble at this point. Did you have any idea of how you want? Because I think that if you wanted to do something like a PayPal or something like that, I don't think I can be monetized because I only have like a couple of people. It's like, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
think I have, yeah, I don't think I have, I only got 64. I think I know who left our group here. Um, but, but if you want, do you want to do some kind of, so I have some oracles and I do have one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites is this
Cool.
guy. And I really like this deck. It's very non-traditional, which I think that's me, but not, I don't know how to explain that either. But I think it's important that you got to follow whatever it is that is your bent and still keep yourself safe. I don't know, and you're very intuitive. Not to negate that you have you have this really good ability to tap into that person. And I think that there is, both of us have that level of insecurity of thinking that we're not going to hit the mark when we look at what's traditional with that particular card. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? So we're kind of like comparing us to something else. And I don't think we should do that because I sat down this evening and started reading through these cards and I thought, I'm not really picking up this kind of vibe from this particular card. This is what I'm getting. And I start talking out loud, which I think is really important. You got to talk to yourself. Don't let them tell you that you shouldn't talk to yourself. That's not crazy, people. That's
That's
actually putting that, and don't think sound comes out this way. Guess what? It's a ball. It's a bubble at your mouth and it's a ball. This is science here. It's a bubble and a ball. Comes out, radiates out through the back of your head, the top of your head, down into your organs and out of your mouth. It's very impactful. So be very careful with your words. That's why I think that, doing these readings or these intuitive, inspired, guidance is really more what it is. It's not a reading. It's a divinely inspired, I don't know. It's an intuitive inspiration.
Yeah.
That's what you have. You don't even need the cards. I think what the cards might be for you is a confirmation or maybe an affirmation of what you have within you and what you're able to see.
Thank you very much. You too, though. You do that too.
Yeah, I get really twitchy. I mean, I move around a lot.
Is the spirit moving you?
I don't know. So did you want to do something maybe with like a collective thing? I mean, one of the things that I was just sitting in my room saying, oh, what is this? What is this thing that we're starting? And I don't know if you can see that. That I think is kind of an interesting card. Yeah. A magical shape shifter, is that what it says? Magical map
Yeah,
shifter.
it does.
So, I mean, when I first looked at that, I kind of was looking at it, it's like, well, those aren't feathers, that's a fan. And there's like this golden strand that kind of winds around her. And I'm thinking, well, that's cool. That's not really coming from the universe. That's coming from her. So I think we can get kind of wrapped up in thinking that it's outside of ourselves, but I think it's within us that we have this ability to generate and pull this together. Do you know what I mean? And not shape shift into what makes sense for us, but what is beneficial to us.
Right.
So I don't know for the collective if you would, and I don't know if that's something that you're able to do, is pick up on a general energy because you've done some pretty interesting, told me some pretty interesting things. That you can pick up on a specific energy. Are you able to do like a general collective type thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I will. I'll pull a card here and I'll think about it too while I'm
Yeah,
shuffling.
you kind of like what is it? You know, I was like, well, what does the universe want me to know? It's like, no, what's relevant because we are the universe. What's relevant for us? What is it that we don't see? What is it that is going to be for our highest good? It's not always going to feel good, but oh,
I don't know if you can. It's the Seven of Wands.
there you go. Oh, almost there.
Am I invisible?
You aren't invisible. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So what do you get from that?
Let me set it down.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think that what it means is that like everybody right now is like basically aligning themselves with what they really want, whatever it is, like be it a career or a family or whatever it is that they want out of life. Like they are now seeking this out, like they're finding it and they're picking it up and they're now doing the work that's associated with it. And so like now they're willing to, because if you look at the man's expression, he kind of looks a little bit off guard a little, which I would say is like, I think that's happening to many of us where we have certain situations happening that pop up. Where we're like, well, I don't know if I can handle this. And then we kind of like tip our toe in it. And then we're like, oh, I think I can handle this. And then we're like, as we get more and more confident within ourselves as a collective, then we're going to be able to be more and more aligned with what we should be doing and what our highest selves want us to do. So I think that like right now it's a time of exploration where everybody is kind of figuring out what they want and learning how to go about getting it. And I think that the best way to know what we want is to have a hands-on approach, which is what this Seven of Wands is to me. The
Yeah,
very
and he looks is I don't know, is he kind of stressed? I mean, because
yeah,
the
he kind of he's gonna poop. He's like, you know. So he's working for it, but like you can tell that this is something new to him, that he's just getting used to the feel of it in his body, like he's just learning how to adjust. And I know like within my own life I'm in a spot now where I'm a completely new version of myself, and sometimes that can be overwhelming and sometimes it can
uncomfortable. He
yeah
probably looks
it's
uncomfortable, and he's standing his ground
and he's
too.
standing his ground the whole time, and that's what we're all gonna do, stand our ground, and like then it's really exciting sometimes, and then other times it's like devastating because the whole world has changed. But I think it's a good thing, and I think just going with the flow and allowing change to happen and knowing that we are divinely protected in the universe and that we are in the universe's favor will send us a long way, because all like the lens of our perspective has a great deal of influence on what type of life we lead and what type of experiences that occur to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's definitely, change is typically not comfortable, even when you're expecting it,
That's
and if you know it's going to be uncomfortable, sometimes it can make it even worse. It's like that anticipation.
true.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah, I had some pretty weird notes written down. Yeah, that's not something I could post on YouTube for sure.
You're
So
weird.
what did, nah, I'm just looking at my notes. There's definitely, I can't even say like a third of that. That would just be a bad, um, um, so what did you have on, maybe we could do, something for Stephen. Did you want to do something for Stephen? Well, Stephen, do you have a question?
Is Steven still there? I can't.
He said, Bryce, he said, I am. I asked him if he was there and he said, I am. I don't know how long ago that was, but, um, maybe if he's still there, cause I know, oh, what do you call it? I think Matthew is on with,
Yeah,
uh,
that's why
Rob.
it was awkward
No,
trying.
no question, no reading.
Is that what he said?
No, he just said no question. So,
Steven!
so I'm gonna reach out to Raven here. And I have a friend who has been very supportive of me. I don't know if she's home or not. She's amazingly intuitive. She picked up on a whole bunch of stuff that I would not even suspected. Uh, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was about distractions. And I think I may have mentioned earlier about a lot of the things that we're seeing like a version of, and each one of these versions are provable to a degree. So one of the things is the shape of the earth. So that's like a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's turned into another distraction. And people get really, especially Facebook, people get really nasty on there.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at how neurotic and creepazoid people can get on Facebook. Said that on purpose. So really, it's not just a globe earth. It's not just a flat earth, and it's not just a hollow earth, but I've also seen theories on like a concentric, if you like nesting dolls, the earth, like a nesting doll. Boom, 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 boom. And on each one of those is a society. And I think there was another version of that too. Um, like a toroid. And are we on the outside of the toroid? Are we on the inside of the toroid? And what
Mhm.
part of the toroid? Are we the toroid? So there's all these different versions of where we think we are at. What do you think?
I don't know what to think about that. Uh,
So how would you determine a question like that? Do you think that that would be something that would be at least given some guidance with the cards.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's a very, I mean, I think anything can be given guidance from the cards, but I think like where the lack is like having the ability to discern the symbology, you know, like, because even within ourselves, we all have our own individual language and symbols that we've had since birth or before. And I think like even within my own spiritual growth and journey, I have many dreams or many things that come to me as messages, and I'll receive the message. I'll know it's a message from source, but what it is doesn't make sense to me because I'm still learning how to decipher it, you know? And so I would say, of course, we can get guidance from things like that, but because it's so much of what we know isn't really based on any like really true, provable evident, you know, like there could always be another theory out there and there's no absolutes, you know? So, like, one way or another, like, all I can say is, I don't really know about that, you know?
So here's something interesting that I've kind of been getting out of all of it is when they talked about this whole idea of when you observe something that it changes the outcome.
Yeah, like Schrodinger's cat.
It's the same thing,
Yeah.
possibly. And so when you get to that point, wouldn't it be like another distraction? How relevant is it to what the purpose is for your being here? Are we
Yeah.
getting a little too deep here? I don't,
I don't,
I don't know. What do you think?
I think that there's like going to be anytime you consider that there could be another possibility, that possibility exists in other time and space.
There you
So
go.
it's an infinity loop because yes, it exists. Just the mere idea of it, that you acknowledging the possibility of it creates that reality within another space and time. So like that's why it's hard to say about like the flat earth stuff because like so many people at this point have collectively come together, agreed upon these parameters, and have said this is what it's going to, that it's a possibility. So that possibility creates the reality. Like once you ponder a possibility, it creates a reality, at least somewhere throughout time and space, maybe
Right.
outside our time and space, but it's now a reality somewhere.
And here's another interesting aspect. Where was this guy? He sounded like he was maybe from like Bahamas or something. And someone asked him what he believed on. I can't remember what it was, but he says, "Do you believe?" And he says, "Yes, I believe." And he says, you know, you can believe the truth or you can believe a lie. So belief is nothing. He says, you have to have a knowing. I mean, you know, just he went through this really long rabbit trail of doing that. But the point is that it's almost like the first time I heard Joe Dispenza say that hope is a beggar. I was like, oh my God, that was harsh, but you know, it was harsh because it rang with truth in that in many respects. It's hope is something that can pull you up out of the muck and mire, but it's not going to necessarily accomplish your goal. You have to move beyond that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's how it is for like a lot of things like that. You know, there's always going to be that polarity to it, you know, opposite reaction or, you know, the other side to things. There's always more than one side.
And then that too kind of begs the question of that there are realities where there is no polarity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like in our universe and where we live, there has to be polarity for this universe to exist. That's a law.
Um, there has to be a balance, not necessarily a
There's
polarity per
just,
se, but I kind of get it. It's the whole battery thing, the positive and the negative.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah. So in that respect, but when you have that perfect balance, you don't feel the polarity.
Yeah, but at times you do feel like a tug one way or another, like, and
Yeah,
then
and that's where
and it's,
that's where there's that
back.
perpetual,
Yeah,
yeah, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
yeah.
Oh, um, yeah, I think there's a Montana Ford maybe watching.
Who's bored?
Montana Ford is my friend who lives fairly close to me. She's the one I go out to dinner with on Friday nights once a
Oh,
month.
yeah,
Yeah, she's very cool.
yeah. You
She should
told
be on here. She
tell
should
her
be she should be on here. She's got the best. She's got like a radio voice.
that's cool.
It's very cool. But anyway. So what kind of what did you want to do next? Because I've been kind of rambling on for 40 minutes here.
Have a plan. I just kind of jumped on here because you had it ready. So
I know. We've been kind of talking about trying to do this for a
yeah,
while, for a minute.
a long time.
Yep. So maybe getting a little more preparation next time and getting people aware of, and I think that there was this whole exchange of energy that's really kind of important, that when you put out that energy for doing readings and whatnot, um, I basically do well, it's clinical case management, but you do counseling, not really counseling, but coaching.
Yeah,
And I get paid for doing that. And it is work. It's not just sitting there and giving advice. You don't give advice. That's not what it's about. It's about helping someone do it's helping someone realize their own potential.
yeah,
And it's a lot of work to not just help that person realize that, it's also your own personal growth, because you have to put yourself to the side all the time. You're always pushing yourself off to the side, and
yeah.
that can be very draining.
It can be.
uh, yeah, it's been a long week, I'll just put it that way.
I know you got a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting ready to kind of wrap things up. I had some court documents I had to get ready, and it was kind of funny as I'm rushing back to the office. I've got 90 minutes to get this done. I was so happy. And when I got back, there was a message to me saying that there had been some issue at an AFC home, an adult foster care home. I was like, oh my God. So I had to call recipient rights, and I didn't get an answer. So I went down there. And I talked to the supervisor of recipient rights, and she's going, oh my God, I can't believe this. It's Friday. I said, I know, I got my gear. I'm going to go out and visit. So you just do what you got to do to help people be as safe as they can be. But again, not my circus, not my monkey.
Yeah,
I have to be able to come home and kind of cut the cords to all that stuff for the whole weekend. So that's why I like to do something like this, totally divergent
totally
from,
different from what your daily life is like.
right. So this is from a psychological aspect, it's very deep in my mind. I mean, you and we do readings on each other all the time,
Yeah.
which is like a freaking blast. I have so much fun.
We might one again tonight.
Well, sure. You want to do that? I don't know. I mean,
You mean on here? I just met later. I am.
yeah, we'll do later, because we get really deep and personal.
Just
You
do
know,
it later because I don't want my business out there like that.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Me, same. And I think we both have a tendency to do that. When
Yeah,
I do,
telling all my business to everyone all the time. It sucks. And then I'm like, why am I telling everyone's everything? You
so yeah,
know?
but but when and you can't hold back when you do this. It's really hard
Yeah,
to Yeah. And that's why I'm not a fan of doing any of the readings in a public way. Um, it's hard. It's hard because a lot of stuff comes through that should not be, and it can be detrimental. You don't want people knowing what comes through into my head. It's hard, and the one I had to kind of like really sterilize it. And it was like, I wish I could say, but it's gonna hurt beyond belief that what I had to say and I couldn't.
Yeah,
Because we're doing the texting and the pictures and everything, I let you have it full Monty, don't I?
you do. You're like, this is what's up, girl.
I know, I know. And I think we would both have, if we could figure out a way to make this happen for us, I think we'd be okay, you
We will
know,
do it. It's just the beginning. We're just figuring ourselves out.
for sure, for sure.
We're on a journey too, people.
Huh?
I said we're on our own journeys
100%.
as
And
we are becoming more into ourselves that want to help other, you know what I mean, that are wanting to utilize these gifts to help other people too, you know?
Uh, I do have my clients that, because there's been a fairly high turnover for this job because it's extremely stressful,
Yeah.
that, please don't leave me, and it's heart-wrenching, and it's kind of like, I have to say, I was like, if I were to move on, it would have to be something where I felt like I was doing someone good, not just good for myself. It's not that I don't want to have good in life. Definitely 100% do. Um, Only because, someone said that I should tell my story. Someone said that I should, well, you even said write a book.
Yeah, I did. I think you should.
Someone had said, and these are all different people. Someone had said that it's it's a story that can help other people. And there's a huge vulnerability that comes with that, not just for myself, but I'm not the only one that's involved in my story. After being in a relationship for 30 years, that affects that man and his family too. So I kind of feel like I have to tread carefully with a lot of that stuff because I'm sensitive to that. Even though my kids have told me, he's a narcissist, and it's like, damn, I didn't even know you knew what that word meant. So, it's kind of like it made sense when they had told me that. And
Yeah.
and then I had, the universe really looks out for us because then something popped up on my YouTube feed about a covert narcissist and
Yeah.
how you can have everyone else just enamored with them, but they treat you like dirt.
Yeah.
Well, that was it, making a really good income. And I'm still shopping at Salvation Army, and they would come back and maybe say, well, that was your choice. It's like, not really, because of other dynamics and financial things that were going on. I was obligated to do that.
Yeah.
So, you could say that there's 2 points to this, but then again, when you're suffering to that degree, and it's like incompetent people don't know that they are incompetent.
That's true.
Personality disorders, people don't see them,
No.
that because that's like an intrinsic bias for them.
Right.
So, you have to kind of sit back and try and hold up a mirror to yourself. And it's hard to do. It's hard for all of us to do that. Me included. I'm not going to paint myself out of that picture. It's very difficult to not overgive.
Right.
I mean, really hard not
Me too. I'm like
to
that too.
overgive. to the point of financial crisis I've gotten myself into over things, and that's since I've been back here in the States, 2014. So, that's not the case now, but that's how much you can give. You can give to and I know that you can relate to that, where you give to other people too much,
Yeah.
financially, emotionally, and then you feel like an absolute moron. I know that was me. I was like,
To tell you the truth, I end up looking
like,
like a jackass more times than I'd like to admit.
oh,
And then I'll always, but my problem is I admit it straight up to people who aren't even asking, and then they're like, I'm just like, you know,
yeah. No, and it takes some.
it takes some steel balls to pick stuff up and say, hey, I fucked up. I don't know all the answers. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I don't know, like, hey, none of us fucking know anything. So at least we admit it.
I know, it's like the more you learn, the dumber you
Yeah,
feel.
the more you don't know.
No, you talk about the ballsy part. Yeah, the more I learn, the dumber I feel. And I 100%. I mean, what was
I
it?
think that's normal. I think we're like
There is no normal.
expanding, and as our consciousness expands, we realize, wow, I was really stupid back then, or hey, why did I think that was really dumb? And I think that's a mark of maturity for us.
I don't know if it's a mark of maturity. Maybe it's a mark of developing maturity. Where did you go? Did you disappear? You disappeared, Selena. You pushed the button. You pushed the button, Selena. You're no longer there. All right. I'm going to send her a message and ask her where she went if she doesn't pop back on. But anyway. Where did you go? So anyway, well, I guess that was all the internet she had. How many minutes do we have? If you do have the mind to subscribe, if it was helpful to you, please leave a comment below. I think it's really important, is the one thing that I'm really lacking is getting feedback from people. And this is very therapeutic for me. I'm very therapeutic to other people, but I find this to be very therapeutic for me to get feedback from people as to what kind of topics that you'd like to hear, what you'd like to discuss. I know Selena's very intuitive. I think that she would really enjoy getting maybe some readings. Please check out my website, auricvibe1111.com. Really, if you wanted to do like a coaching session or something like that with me, auricvibe1111 at gmail.com. I can also do maybe, I do the pyramids. I have a ton of them behind me. But also I do the, what do you call it? The atmosphere, mitigators. I can't remember, cloud busters. I do small ones like desktop ones. Very helpful right now. I think we're all losing our hair over all the radiation we're encountering at this point. But anyway, love everybody. I really appreciate if anybody could do like, give me some feedback. Give me some ideas of what you would like to see. I don't feel like it's appropriate to do, reading after reading after reading, pulling on someone's heartstrings and making it obligatory. If someone wants to do something free for you, that's great. But also there has to be an expression of some sort, whether it's monetary or bartering or something, because it does take from you. It's 100% an exchange of energy, but I would appreciate as many comments and likes and shares as possible. I'm also on Rumble and Odyssey. I might be putting some more edgy stuff on there. I'm gonna try and reach out to Stone Hobbit and see if she's interested in doing another one. There are some other people that I've reached out to that I haven't heard back from yet that have some very interesting things about one of my personal interests, since I had a musical background in my earlier years. And I'm very much interested in cymatics and music and sound. And the scientific aspects and beneficial healings that you can get from it. So blessings to everyone, and have a great weekend, a great week. And